This election catastrophe directs our attention to where the heart of the problem lies. The American people were presented with as stark a choice as one can readily imagine. Not it wasn't like Eisenhower and Stevenson or Reagan and Carter uh, or Obama versus John McCain. This was between Donald Trump and all the various things that his campaign was showing he represented, and Kamala Harris, on every dichotomy that pertains to what we usually think of as good and evil, like hate, love, conflict, peace, cruelty, kindness, rage, love. You couldn't, both candidates have to get credit for showing the American people just what they represented. And it aligned completely with what people who have believed in good and evil would have said was, what was the best, what was the better choice, what was the worst choice. The victory of Trump is a victory for every wrong side, not a mix like American politics usually has been. And this couldn't be more visible. You could hardly watch a Trump talking and not feel what the spirit of that thing was. And then same with Kamala. It was they were both giving very powerful performances of their own side of those dichotomies. The divider, the unifier. The felon and the prosecutor. As stark a choice as you could ever imagine is at the most fundamental of levels. It really was, as it turned out, a battle between good and evil. And we have to confront the fact that despite this really rather vivid display that each side put on, the American people chose the thing that our culture would always have said was the uglier of the two, the more destructive of the two. It behaves in a way that righteous, loving Christians could never behave. Which candidate's conduct was more in the harmony with the Sermon on the Mount? And the American people, there's some brokenness of some sort has led the majority of people, whatever it was they saw or didn't see, this vivid display did not get them to support the better, the life-serving ends, where peace is better than war, and love is better than hate, and kindness better than cruelty, and justice better than injustice. It was a battle between good and evil, if each of them is defined as a coherent force that consistently works to make things either better or worse, depending on whether it's the evil or the good. more broken or more whole. These are things that can be made operational. And it happened in this election that something that was a clear personification of an ancient dark concept was able to sell itself to enough people to be handed power. That is fundamentally the nature of the battle. It's not over immigration. It's not over tariffs. It's not over any of those issues. I mean, it's over all those issues. But the thing about today's Republican Party is that on every issue, they're aligned with something that makes things worse. What does it mean that the majority of the American people essentially voted for evil, or something reasonable to call evil? Not just Trump, but the whole thing that's coming with him that is threatening the survival of American democracy, among other things, and the survival of Ukraine, for that matter, and Taiwan. And life on Earth as they take the wrong side also on climate change. And that's what since that's the fundamental nature of the battle, I think a way should be found for the side of the good to go after whatever the opportunities are in a way to convey to the American people that this is about good versus evil. It's been about that for a very long time. In 2005, apropos of what I saw happening on the Republican side in 2000, in those early years of the Iraq War, I thought that the concept of evil was essential for understanding the nature of the drama. And liberal America's got a weakness when it comes to recognizing the existence of something that is reasonable to call evil. It wasn't able to put the pieces together to see that there is a coherent force. But I think the time has come now where, having lost to evil, the battle we just had at the ballot box, that maybe the right thing to do is to wage the battle back in terms of the battle between good and evil, because we now understand that there's something wrong in the American body politics on that question. Either they didn't care or they couldn't see what was right in front of their eyes. One way or another, the caring and the perceiving. I think that, I don't know whether we should be talking about a movement, which is not necessarily led by the politicians. I think the politicians could play a leading role, but there also could be a place for grassroots movement, where the things that this Trumpian presidency are about to do can be responded to in a way that helps people see the larger picture of this is about good and evil. Not necessarily using any such words. Maybe instead of evil, the picture could be painted in terms of fascism. If you line up the qualities of the power system and the spirit of fascism with the ancient notions of good and evil, fascism versus democracy, really is aligned pretty well with democracy as the good and fascism as the evil. It, power that does justice to people by giving people equal voice, that's democracy. Power that embeds the injustice of having power at the top, compel everybody to obey their will. Not hard to see which is more life-serving. So good versus evil is really what this battle is going to be about. We can expect that Trump will do a whole variety of destructive things, and each one of them should be subtly tied into a larger picture. That this is an outfit that's consistently making things more broken, worse, and talk about the darkness of the spirit that underlies it, and get people to see that there is something there that really should be seen the way Walt Disney would have drawn it and rejected. A movement maybe like Solidarity back in 1980 in Poland, Lech Walesa leading this movement that actually led to a liberation of Poland from a considerable amount of the Soviet oppression that they've been having to deal with for decades. There have been people who have been successful in fighting tyranny, and a movement that talks about value and good and evil and makes the contrast between this and that in terms of what serves the good and what destroys it. That might have a certain power to get some of those people who somehow were willing to vote for evil and then hand over the power of the state to someone who already conspicuously violated his oath that our founders said was essential before you give power to such a person. Yet people have to swear it. Yet this guy, we know that it doesn't mean anything if he swears it. So he shouldn't be able to become president, but the American people voted for somebody who violated his oath of office so conspicuously. These things have to be shown in terms of the larger context of what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil, what's the way America is supposed to be, and what is a perversion of America into something dark that we've always opposed. Please visit my website, abetterhumanstory.org. Like, subscribe, whatever you feel like doing.